Life is short, and being in radio can grind it to a halt. Influence FM is for running your stations at your convenience, when you want, where you want. With Influence FM, you can now do the impossible. Enjoy your life, all the while knowing that Influence FM will notify you instantly about any anomalies. And with the flick of a thumb, you can see that your station's assets and operations are running at full speed. Go ahead, take that vacation. We dare you. We sell freedom, not software. Free yourself to do, well, precisely what you want.
Some of you feeling like this today? It's been a little tough. Day 10, the end of our second 5-day session. And there's a lot going on now, and it's going to keep getting steeper, especially into next week. Now, if you recall, earlier on we talked about the Covey quadrants and the 4 areas. Now, quadrant 4, you throw it away. Quadrant 3, you probably throw it away. Quadrant 2 is where you want to do a lot of your work. And then there's quadrant 1, which some things will fall into, hopefully not very often. And if you find yourself working in quadrant 1 a lot, you do have a problem. So today, I want to talk to you a little bit about planning and how to keep it all together. You know, if you're building a house, it's not so much a matter of just knowing all the skills you need to know. You also need to know what to do when and how to keep it all in time. You can't pour the foundation after you put the roof up. And we've got some of the same problems here. So the first thing I want to get through is that no one can manage time. Time, as far as we know, currently is linear and it's constant. It's a lot like water. It can't be expanded or compressed. So what you have to do is figure out what you're going to do with your time. Here's the good news. Bill Gates, he's got exactly as much time every day as you do. And see what he's done with his time. What can you do with yours? It's a matter of getting your calendar together, dealing with email, texts, and all the other things that you have to deal with. So let's talk about how this kind of works. What we're talking about is pretty much goal setting. The goal is, I want to sell an annual this week. Fine. So what do? I say, all right, my goal is to sell the annual this week. Now I make the plan. I'm going to go out and do the CNAs. I'm going to produce the spec spots. I'm going to put together the presentation. And then I'm going to put that together, do it all, see if it's working. If it is working, I'm just going to take action and keep doing it. If it's not working, I'm going to adjust, reset the goal, make the plan, and it's a never-ending circle. Yes, you are going to be a hamster on the wheel of life. Fortunately, it keeps it interesting. Your goals. Now, we don't want to talk about just the radio station goals. You want to talk about all your goals. They're SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Think about that. Specific. I want to sell an annual schedule on the radio station this week. Is that specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Yes. I know it's an annual schedule and I know what a week is. Is it achievable? I say yes, it is. You'll decide whether or not you believe me. Is it realistic? Yes, it's realistic. Is it realistic to say I could sell 2 in a week? Yes, but not for most people. And is it timely? Yes, it's this week. Let's think about, you say I want to lose some weight. I want to lose 50 pounds. All right, is that specific? No, because I need to be able to figure out when. I want to lose 50 pounds in a week. Okay, there's a goal. Is it measurable? Yes, 50 pounds 1 week. Is it achievable? Not unless you cut off a leg. So you have to decide if you're willing to do that. Is it realistic? Again, I'm not so sure it is. Is it timely? Yes, it absolutely is. So it doesn't reach all of that. So what is our goal? You know, I want you to tattoo this somewhere. I will sell 1 annual contract each week. Not I will try. There is no try. There's just do. Oh my God, I turned into Yoda. I will sell 1 annual contract each week, period, no matter what. So what are the interim steps? Well, each of these interim steps is a goal in and of itself. Take a look. I'm probably going to have to make 9 cold calls this week. And then I'm going to have to do 3 CNAs. I'm going to have to write 9 spec ads. I'm going to have to make 3 closing calls, and I will get 1 annual sale out of that. Well, you're going to say, how am I going to do all this in a week? Well, how long do 9 cold calls take? 15 minutes each? All right, make it a half hour. So that's 4.5 hours out of your week. To do 3 CNAs, half hour each? Okay, so now what are we up to? 4.5, 1.5, 5, 6. We're up to 6 hours. Write 9 spec ads. Half hour each? All right, 9. So we're at about 13.5. 3 closing calls, about an hour each. 16, 17 hours. We're up to about 18 hours. Make it 20 hours. It's half your week. What are you going to do with the rest of your week? Well, that's service calls and whatnot, but do you really need that much time? And if you plan correctly, you could probably do your entire week in about 3 days a week. I used to. All right? This is all there is to it. Break it down. Think about it. You can eat an elephant one bite at a time. What's your plan? When are you going to eat the elephant by? All right? How do you manage it all? If you're using something like Influence FM or a contact manager, it's easy. Every time you go in and you say, I did this on my calendar, it should ask you, what are you going to do next? So, I did the CNA. Now I come back and tell my system, I did the CNA, and then it says, what's next? And I go, okay, what's next? I have to write 3 commercials. Good. Write 3 commercials. When am I going to do that? Tuesday. I'm going to need an hour and a half to do that, so I'm going to do that, let's say, after 4 o'clock, because that's probably a better time than trying to do it in the middle of the day or during selling hours. So I say I'm going to do that then. Now you can forget about it because the system's going to remind you of what's next. 2 words I want you to remember. Always. What's next? There should always be a what's next. If you go into this guy and he says, I don't ever want to see it again, then what's next? Get rid of the account or go see him again. See what happens. All right? I want you to memorize this. You already know this about yourself, don't you? We all deal with it. You know, I say, gee, I need to lose 20 pounds. How important is it? It's not even a quadrant 2 for me. That's a quadrant 3. I probably should. It's only slightly important and not that urgent. Now, if I have a heart attack, well, then it's going to go to number 1. Again, if it's important, you'll find a way. If not, you're going to find an excuse. I want you to get in the habit of completing your calendar at the end of the day. And here's why. Wouldn't it be great if in the morning all you had to do was come into the radio station, pick up your calendar, and get to work? I see more salespeople and whatnot, and managers even, who come in and start their day by working on their calendar, worrying if they forgot something from last night. In my company, you have to do it the night before because the managers meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, actually 5:55 a.m., and we go over the calendars and everything to make sure everything is in order that we need. All right? How do you plan it? Important, urgent, time of day, and personal. Make sure the personal stuff goes on the calendar. It's some of the most important stuff to you. If you try to sneak it out, hey, be honest. In my company, we're allowed to call in well. It's too nice a day, I don't feel like working. You know why we do that? We do that so people don't call in sick when they're actually well. Next up. So you say, Chris, how many people can I see in a day? And I go through this with salespeople quite a bit. And they say, you know, well, you can't see that many. You can see about 8 people in a day. Face to face. It's not that hard if you think about it. Between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., you can easily see 8 a day. But I don't count social calls. What's a social call? You've either got a cold call, you've got a CNA, a closing call, a copy call, a collection call. Anything else you do is a social call. And people say to me, well, no, Chris, you got to understand, I'm servicing the account. What does that mean? Why are you there? Well, if service means getting copy, it's a copy call. If you're going to show them anything that has a $ on it, it's a closing call. And I don't care if you're just showing them a package. That's a closing call. If you're going to show them anything with a $ that they could sign, that is a closing call. If you just say, well, I'm going to stop by, see how he's doing, it's a social call. Don't worry about it, but it's a social call. Well, I'm enhancing the relationship with the client. My attitude on that is you need relatedness, not a relationship. I don't go out to dinner with my clients. I don't go boating with them. If you get too close, I have problems doing business with them, and we're going to cover that next week. What time of day are sales made? In my experience, for 30-some years of doing this, all sales I've made have been between about 6 and noon. It's very rare that I close something after 12 noon. You say 6 a.m.? You would be surprised how many businesses are open at 6 o'clock in the morning and how many people are already there. I want to get them before lunch. There's a philosophy that says never go to lunch alone. Fine, don't go to lunch alone if you don't want to, but don't try to pitch somebody something over lunch. I'm sorry, but I cannot sit there with somebody when I'm trying to talk to about buying something, they're eating and I'm not. That's uncomfortable for them. Or they got a mouthful and I'm asking them questions. If you want to go to lunch with a client just to socialize, fine. But don't think that's a closing call, at least in my book, okay? Think about how it will go. Next up, I want to talk to you about your little wheel of life, Hakuna Matata, all right? This is a wheel of life. This is one I stole. And what this is The different parts of your life are spokes on the wheel. Now, this is not something I want you to fill out for your manager or anybody else. I want you to look at that wheel down to the right, the little one. And on the little one, some sections are out further and some sections are in further. Now, if this was a wheel going across time, this is a pretty bumpy ride, wouldn't you agree? What that means is, in this person's case, every time it comes around to, let's see here, we've got friends and family or something of that nature, every time it comes around to that, the wheel jars. Well, when the wheel jars, the whole carriage jars. One of the tricks you got to get here is balance in life. I mean, we all know people that love to sit down and complain, oh my God, and they're going on and on about something. The closer you can get to your wheel being round, the easier all parts of your life are. So what you do is you fill this wheel out in each section. You go from a 0 to 10, and it's subjective. 10 being the best it could possibly be in your mind. And you put a mark where you are on the wheel for each spoke. And then draw the circle around and see what your circle looks like. And then think about your own life and say, yeah, every time it comes to family, that's a bit of a jar. Or every time it comes to this, that's a bit of a jar. Or whatever it is. And one of your jobs is to start figuring out how to get your life in order in such a way that you can be an excellent salesperson. One of them I talk about is, what are you doing in your off time? Day one, I asked you what you're doing at 6 o'clock in the morning, what you're doing at 7. Hopefully, you've already changed that habit over the past 9 days. Hopefully, in the morning, you're checking your email and reading the news and working on your calendar if you have to before you get to work and getting your brain moving so that by the time you hit the floor, you're ready to go. I don't have a snooze button on anything I own. And you won't find me sitting there on the couch, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, maybe it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night with a martini in my hand. That's a different story. What are you feeding your head? And are you making time to feed your head? These were called bookstores. They were here before Amazon.com. But what are you reading? What do I read? I read a lot of business books on different types of businesses and different ways of doing business. I also read a lot of science fiction because I like it. All of it keeps my brain working. What are you feeding your head? On to tonight's homework going into the weekend. It's going to be kind of an interesting weekend for you. I hope you all come back Monday. But here we go. Figure out your wheel of life, but it's just for you. Okay? That's between you and you. I want you to start your calendar today if you haven't already. I want all the personal stuff on there first. Everything that deals to you personally, kids' soccer games, going out with the wife, date night. On my calendar, every Friday at 6 o'clock it says date night. By the way, I used to hire a babysitter when the kids were little, and I told the babysitter, you're mine every Friday night. Why I did that was so if I was going to have to pay this babysitter anyway, I'd probably go out, and we kept going for decades now. All right? Immovables, sales meetings, and things of that nature. Get those on there next. Then get your vacations, your family events, get all that on the calendar. And then figure out where you're going to put time to see customers and whatnot after you get all the rest of this stuff on there. See, there are people who disagree. They say put the work stuff on first. No, because you're going to make time for the family stuff and the personal stuff. So go ahead, get it on the calendar and work around those things. You're more likely to be honest with yourself. The rest of the homework, does this look familiar? It should. By now, you should already have 4 CNAs done, and by the end of today, you'll have made 15 cold calls minimally. By now, you should already have a CNA completed, if not 2. And now you're working on presentations, real ones, that you're going to go out and pitch next week as annual schedules. I want you to go back and take a look at this week. Take a look at all the different things we did. Look back in your workbook, or if you don't have the workbook, look back in the tapes and see what's there. Tapes. Video, they're not videos either. Whatever these things are called now. Look back and see what you have to do. All of this must be done if we're going to get together on Monday and we're going to start running. See you then.
Life is short, and being in radio can grind it to a halt. Influence FM is for running your stations at your convenience, when you want, where you want. With Influence FM, you can now do the impossible. Enjoy your life, all the while knowing that Influence FM will notify you instantly about any anomalies. And with the flick of a thumb, you can see that your station's assets and operations are running at full speed. Go ahead, take that vacation. We dare you. We sell freedom, not software. Free yourself to do, well, precisely what you want.